مرحبا جميعا. نتمنى أن يكون الاستراحة كانت كافية. الجلسة الثانية بتكون بعنوان التميز التشغيلي في منشآت الطاقة. هذه الجلسة بتستعرض أهم المتطلبات علشان الوصول إلى التميز التشغيلي في منشآت الطاقة، إضافة إلى خطوات نجاح الجهات في الاستفادة القصوى من هذه الطاقة، وكذلك عرض المشاريع المحلية والمستقبلية في الطاقة النظيفة محلياً ودولياً. وبتستعرض أيضاً الجلسة أفضل الممارسات المحلية والدولية في إدارة منشآت الطاقة وصولاً إلى تميزها التشغيلي. سيدير هذه الجلسة أحد أكبر المتخصصين في التحول الاستراتيجي من ذوي الخبرة، والذي اكتسب خبرة ومهارة كبيرة في الاستشارات الإدارية، امتدت هذه الخبرة لأكثر من 20 عام في حياته المهنية. يقود هو حالياً البرامج الاستراتيجية وإعداد أيضاً التقارير ضمن استراتيجية الشركة للطاقة وللحوكمة، كجزء من المبادرة الرائدة لإدخال أول محطة للطاقة النووية بشكل آمن في المنطقة. وهو يعمل مستشاراً لفريق القيادة العليا في برامج الشركات المهمة لنواة الطاقة. رحبوا معي بروري جاليجر، مستشار تنفيذي لنواة الطاقة وجاينا من الإمارات. ويلكم مستر روري. أيضاً رحبوا معي بسيد براندون لي، المسؤول التنفيذي لأعمال والشؤون الدولية والسفير الكندي السابق في وادي السيليكون، واللي جاينا من كندا مستر براندون. أيضاً رحبوا معي بعادل العمراني، الرئيس التنفيذي للخدمات شركة جنرال إلكتريك باور للشرق الأوسط وشمال إفريقيا. رحبوا معي أيضاً بوليد السعدي، نائب الرئيس للهندسة للشركة الوطنية لنقل الكهرباء بالمملكة. أهلاً وسهلاً. وأيضاً الترحيب موصول لتركي الشهري، الرئيس التنفيذي لشركة إنجي في المملكة. أهلاً. وأيضاً رحبوا معي بمحمد الزعبي، الرئيس التنفيذي لشركة مرافق بالمملكة. أهلاً وسهلاً. الآن أترك الكلمة مع السيد روري، يتفضل هذه الجلسة الثانية بعنوان التميز التشغيلي في منشآت الطاقة. مستر روري. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everybody. And welcome. Thank you, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests and distinguished panel also. So, welcome to the session number 2, which is Operational Excellence in Energy Facilities. This is a really interesting topic for me because we in our organisation are at the very start of our operational excellence journey. So this is a great opportunity to understand how our esteemed experts have faced these challenges and what plans there are for the future. So just as an introduction, in today's complex and ever-shifting landscape, energy companies face a host of challenges, from competition and cost management to workforce readiness and training. External pressures have put an even stronger emphasis on the importance of operational excellence for the energy sector. As companies adapt and respond to the pressure to innovate and reduce operating costs, many are looking at how they can scale operational improvement initiatives quickly. Successful organisations in the sector have learned to address these pressures by adopting a holistic approach to organisational performance, focusing on continual improvement and deploying sustainable interventions to create real impact for their business. Meanwhile, the energy industry as a whole is being reshaped by major forces, including decentralisation, digitisation, shifting demand and prices, and greater sustainability as a public policy issue. And as the risks shift, so too do the opportunities. Implementing energy policies that will master the transition to the new energy era will need to effectively strike the balance between security, affordability, and sustainability. So how do companies and indeed nations tackle the challenges of energy transition and decarbonisation while embedding operational excellence, remaining resilient in the face of disruption, and leveraging trends in technology and digital innovation? And so I'd like to welcome our esteemed colleagues to join this discussion. There's going to be a healthy debate and discussion, hopefully, by this. So we wanted to start by looking at how do we build a foundation for operational excellence. And the question we want to ask was, what are the core principles of operational excellence in our respective energy facilities? And maybe I wanted to ask my colleague Mohammed on this one, just to get your insight.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام. مساكم الله بالخير جميعا. Thank you. Let me just saying something about the utility sectors and the challenges we face in energy sectors. Energy or utility is a regulated business, and there's a lot of challenges in the regulated business. You deal with different regulators, and also it's very competitive edge, and it is a tariff business. It is a halala business, we call it, or a cent business. When a halala doesn't make a difference in the way we do business. So in order to excel and transform, you need to drive your business to excel more and drive the business operation. And we need to start what we mean by operation excellence. Operation excellence is a mindset shift that embraces the tools and elements you have to build a culture of excellence in the organizations. If you're talking about strategy, talking about performance, processes, the people, and how you continue improvement. I have a philosophy, I call it 4H. 4H mean you need to have happy customers, stakeholders, you name it, customers being a resident, industrial plant, and for example, Marafiq, if you didn't know, Marafiq is an integrated utility provider. We provide water and power and processed waters and seawater for cooling for industrial. Our stakeholder is different. Industrial plants, for example, we provide around 13% of the GDP of this country because we are the utility hub for SABIC. And we need to ensure the reliability of the network, etc. That's I'm saying, our stakeholder, the customer, very important. We need to ensure the reliability, what they are looking for. Also, we provide power in Yamba for the resident, for the customers. Also, we provide water in both Jubail and Yamba. We are now in Jazan, Ras Al Khair, also providing the integrated services, power and water in Jazan, Ras Al Khair, and water, and potable water, also in the industrial water. The stakeholders, we need to keep them very happy. That's the first H we are looking for. The second H, you need to have happy or healthy assets or happy assets. How we keep the assets healthy? You need to ensure it is reliability, it is maintenance, condition maintenance, how you build that system, and how you build that ecosystem to ensure timely maintaining the equipment, you proactively anticipated failures, and that is also cost with it associated. Third one is the third H, is your shareholders. Shareholder looking for profitability, also reliability of the plants if they are the stakeholder sometimes. But as a shareholder, also what they are looking for, growth in your business, and you need continuous growth. Then in between this is happy employee, and how the employee need to happy, because all this is if you don't have the right workforce, the selection, competent workforce, you are not making the right environment for them to excel, you will not have that ecosystem in excellence. So it is very important, it is easy said, but how you strike balances between both and how to ensure each one help each other to have healthy environment. In order to this, and in order to build that ecosystems, you need to have your other, I call it 4G, how you use the business, I will not call it digital transformation, business transformation, how you transform your business to help you satisfy or keep everybody happy and satisfied. And that's, as I call it, another 4G. Maybe that's I'll go digital transformation. Mr. Al-Bekan, Dr. المهندس Al-Bekan have introduced is the digital solutions. If you don't visit, you think you need to see their transformation in digital. Then I call it 4G. I learned it actually from them. First, how you need to get organized. In order to get organized, you need to have the right processes, right systems in your organization. You need to strive for excellence. For example, you need to have, for example, inequality system model, or, for example, European FAQM model. You build structure or business. In order to control it, you need to monitor it. In order to monitor it, you need to have a building, a systems. And that system need to be connected together in order to get the benefit of all this system together. And how connect this system together? In order to connect these systems, you need to ensure your DCS systems, the digital control system, your IT, OT interconnected, get the benefits of this data, the big data you have, because the data nowadays has great value. And if you know the data and how you transform that data to effective decision making, agile in your business, you monitor it, you have the right monitoring in order to link or more efficient in the way you do business. That's the second G, the get connected. Once you connect all these systems together and you have your right ERP system, enterprise resource, SAP or other ERP system, etc., in order, then you need to have the right processes, optimize the processes, have the value engineering, the way you do business and the processes to optimize the processes. Then once you get all the data, now you have the data set in one place, you need to get inside this data. Once you get this inside data, in order exactly you know how you run your business, what's the issues. And if you do this, I think most of your 70% issues will be resolved, because this hanging fruit issue is easily resolved without big investments. Once you get that system connected and you get inside, now you can get optimized by having AI solutions, other inspection techniques, you name it. But I think it is in the execution, how you excel and how you execute your strategy. Very important, you need to build in your HR competent people. You need to have the qualified. Nowadays, you need to have different set of skills, how you manage things. You need to be techno-savvy, even from top to down, and the understanding the business. I think it is around these 4 pillars: strategy, performance, processes, people, and how you continue improvement.
Thank you. Thank you. So you've touched on a number of points there, and I wanted to just go a little bit further, maybe bring Turkey into the next one, which is really about you've mentioned about the need for innovation and the importance of innovation, the importance of technology. So I just wanted to pass on to yourself about what role does innovation and technology play in driving a successful energy policy or strategy? Sure.
So hello, everyone. Just to put this in what I'm going to say into context, maybe a little bit about NG. NG is we operate in 72 countries, 170,000 employees. So clearly, operational excellence is different in every place we operate around the world. But there's one, and just to complement what Muhammad said, there's one common denominator that is not different anywhere else around the world. And in my opinion, when it comes to operational excellence, I think this comes second to none, and there is no other parallel item of importance as health and safety. I think this is key in every organization, and in the event that you are unable to excel on health and safety, it will impact every other vertical that you just heard about with respect to operational excellence. So I think this is something I just wanted to put out there. When it comes to innovation, again, innovation, if you're unable to innovate, it pretty much means that that your existence is not going to last. And when you're looking at innovation, you're looking at several verticals. Again, you're looking at what you can do within the asset, within your own people, what you're doing, to what Muhammad said, with your client, what does your customer need, but then also what is happening at a country level and at a global level. Where is this world moving towards? And I think if you've seen most of the assets in the kingdom or in the region, they're usually based on long-term PPAs. So there's a certain commitment that you have. However, I think what's important is to realize where the country is moving towards. And clearly, from what we're seeing everything moving towards the net carbon zero objective. So the idea is today is, despite the fact that you have a committed contract, that you have a committed agreement with your off-taker, that does not necessarily mean that you're going to continue running post end of term. So I think it's extremely important that you understand, as a business, what is the latest innovations? What are the latest technologies? And this really relies on your R&D as an organization, depending how big you are. All this enormous abundance of information that's out there globally, through your R&D departments, through your strategy departments, you're able to focus that into what actually makes sense to you. I was talking to Brandon earlier, and we were talking about Silicon Valley. Now, I can tell you, for example, NG, we invest 200 million euro a year in R&D, strictly to understand how to optimize our facilities on a global scale every place we play. Now, you may think 200 million is a lot, but we were talking about Silicon Valley, what was the minimum size ticket to invest in these startups and to invest in scale-ups. And they're $800 million. So if today we want to go invest in these new innovative startups, you're looking at $800 million investment. Now, that's enormous, yeah? And trying to understand all this new technology that's coming out there, how it will impact you, how it will impact your competitor, is really the difference of whether you will survive for the years to come or simply become obsolete. And this has happened, obviously, to many organizations and companies we've seen around the world. Just to simply summarize on that, I think when it comes to innovation, yes, it's definitely key, but there's several factors that we have to look at, and it's not just the facility, it's the client, obviously, because you're serving the client and seeing what he wants and needs, but also what is happening at a country and global scale and where the market is moving towards the future.
Thank you. So there was a couple of consistent themes, and thank you for bringing up around health and safety being an overriding factor. Absolutely. Again, I'll go back to, for us, as I said before, we're at the very start of this journey. We just went into commercial operations last week with our second unit. But one of the things that we're really trying to embed in the organisation are the behaviours. So we have a strap line of 0, 90, 10.5. 0 harm, 90% availability, and then there's a cost element which is 10.5 fills per megawatt hour. So what I'd like to do is just probe a little bit on how we embed these types of behaviours into the organisation. How do we get from strategic alignment right down to every employee thinking the same thing, thinking the same way? And is it different across? Obviously, there are some key areas, like, as we said, safety is always number one. But are there any key differences? And maybe bring yourself, Walid, into this a little bit, just to understand how this gets embedded into the organisation and how we then move towards that operational excellence from a good baseline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm really so glad today to be part of this distinguished panelists. Let me just give a brief about National Grid Saudi Arabia, and I think some of you know about it and some were not. National Grid is a subsidiary wholly owned by Saudi Electricity Company. We are responsible about the transmission network for the whole kingdom. So everybody can imagine the challenge we have so far today, that we are responsible to deliver the electricity and covering a geographical area more than 2 million square kilometers, that we have to be available everywhere, providing a sustainable and reliable supply. Also, we have more than 10 million customers that we are always seeking their satisfaction about our services. If we talk about operational excellence, let's have, a brief description. What does it mean for me or for anyone available in this utility company? So it's all about striving for efficacy and for organization process. So the main key words here, the efficiency and the process. Today, we are working throughout our strategic roadmap with the National Grid, and which is part of the Saudi Electricity Company, to mainly focus roughly in the three main elements. Number one is the process efficiency. We need to make sure that whatever we're doing on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, that provide us the best result within the optimal utilization of our resources. And then we go for how to create value for our customer and our stakeholder. You need also to differentiate between your customer segment and what competitive value that always requested by them, then you can work out it. And then finally, how to grow your business, how to sustain your business. If we successfully manage these three elements, I think you will be able to drive your operational excellence to the next level. In National Grid SA, Saudi Arabia, that we focus in three, what we call it, triangle elements. We are looking for improving the performance, reducing the cost, and controlling the risk. This is really something to create the balance between these three. Definitely, when I'm saying reducing the cost, it's not, cutting the costs, rather than optimizing your design, optimizing your process. So this is what we are now trying to establish in our organization through different programs, like asset management program, like RCM for our maintenance. And the journey is still, our roadmap in this one is too long, but we are, trying our best to evaluate and readjust our journey in this regard.
Thank you. And just on that, I know Brandon just had a quick analogy that we discussed prior to this. I didn't want to let that one go before we move on to the next area.
Sure, thank you. So, salam alaikum. It's a pleasure and honor to be here with all of you. One thing that we were talking about before, I'm very happy that we're speaking about operational excellence. Before we spoke, the ideology was continuous improvement and continuous learning. But by definition, that is quite an exhausting concept because there is no end. But I believe in operational excellence, there is a way to reach operational excellence. And the story that I thought I would share here is there was a VIP delegation having a tour of a university. And as the delegation was walking along, there was an employee of the university, and one of the VIPs asked, what is your role here? And the employee said, I am helping educate the future of our country. And then they thought, okay, excellent. And so, the delegation thought maybe this worker is a professor or a dean, and they kept going, and they found out that that employee was actually a janitor at the university. So this shows this concept that even the janitor at the university understands his role within the full operational excellence mandate of the university.
Thank you. Thank you. So we've talked a little bit about the behaviors. I want to pick the innovation side up again because I do think that this is a really important topic, especially in this sector and in this industry. And apologies that I sort of skipped over you for that analogy, but I really wanted to get your input from a GE perspective.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Actually, I like the example because in GE, part of what we're trying to actually relook at is the lean process. And lean is about basically eliminating the waste. And whether it's operational excellence, whether it's in safety, quality, delivery, and even cost. And for lean to succeed, you really have to invert the pyramid. In other words, the people, the front line, you were talking about the janitor, are the ones that are empowered. It's that field engineer that is in front of the customer that can stop the work. Safety, we talked about safety. If you don't empower your employees or your customer to raise their hand and say, okay, there is an unsafe environment here and can stop the work, you're really just talking. So empowering the front line is huge. What we're trying to do in GE as well is standardizing work. And this is about the operational excellence, right? When you have a standard work and you have something that everybody can relate to, especially from experiences, and we're obviously operating globally, we can get the best practice and implement it everywhere. Standardizing it, it would give you definitely a lot of excellence and a lot of operational excellence. Now, going to your question regarding the innovation, obviously at General Electric, we're investing big time, billions actually of dollars, in the new technology. One of the last examples is the age technology, which has world record setting. It's at 64% combined cycle efficiency. It's something that we never thought, is achievable. By having a very efficient gas turbine or a combined cycle or a power plant, obviously, you eliminate a lot of, carbons, you eliminate a lot of, inefficiency, but more importantly, you generate, power that is, I would say, cleaner in the sense of the word. So one of the things besides obviously the technologies is also looking at how we can upgrade or make our existing power plants or turbines more efficient as well. The H is the new technology, but we have billions and billions of dollars of assets that our customers are operating, and obviously upgrading and increasing the efficiency is very important. We've done, for example, for a power plant here in Saudi Arabia on the cement, section, a 6B that got, upgraded and gave you like 3.5, I believe, better efficiency than what you're operating. That saves obviously fuel and gives you more power. The other piece is, I think, the R&D. We spoke about the R&D and making sure that you're local. Here in Saudi Arabia, we have our largest, actually, repair center, and one of our biggest also manufacturing center in GSAT, which is a JV with our partner, Dusur. And when you're closer to the customer, you can understand better the pain points because, operating, for example, a gas turbine in a harsh environment like in the Middle East here is different than operating, say, in Canada. And having a research center, we have a hot and harsh research center, also in the MEM, that looks at this specific environment that our customers are operating in, and looks across it from General Electric, whether it's in the aviation or in the power sector, and tries to leverage and solve the problems locally. And obviously, for innovation, for us to work, it's our employees. It really starts with our employees and making sure that they are trained in the latest and greatest, be it in the virtual reality, mode, where they can actually open a turbine and look at how they're going to repair it or how it's functioning in a virtual world, or you can also, look at what they were doing in the cloud or how we're storing our data. But it really does start with our employees, our people, and making sure that they're trained for the next wave of technologies.
That's interesting. And so from the technology aspect, because this is an area where it's of great interest, obviously with the within our industry, core systems are really key. And we've mentioned a research and development from a perspective, and maybe just move back to yourself, Mohammed, from the perspective of having the reliance on core systems, and as you've mentioned before, ERP systems and upgrading, is there room in the industry for, or in the sector for disruptive technology, artificial intelligence, as that was just mentioned, and where do you see that going?
Thank you. As I said, once you structure your business,
Yeah.
and you already connect your business, and you have the data, the big data, and you analyze the data, here you come where you can optimize your data by deploying this technology, using the AI, drone for inspections, for examples, other technique of using robotics in the inspections and others, how you know the behavior of the machines, how to perform, and you know their issues. Then I think there's a lot of techniques. And I'll give a good example. What we did, we challenge, I will go back to innovation. Innovation sometimes is not the big thing. How you improve your efficiency by addressing your challenge and your issues. As in all utility business or in generation business, we have an issue with the fly ash. And previously, what we do with this fly ash, for example, in Yamba, we have very strict regulation. We do through the environmental permit, land filling, etc. And it costs us good portions. We said, how can we improve the way we do business and efficiency? And also, as our social responsibility to reuse this as a feedstock. Then we work with other cement companies, for example, in Safwa, in Rabat. Believe it or not, we take our fly ash, we transport it free of cost to Safwa cement company for them to use it as feedstock in their cement processing. By doing this, we save our operation cost by 50% for handling the fly ash. Also, we improve the environment, and instead of landfilling, which is the last resort of get rid of your waste. And also our social responsibility, providing better environment, etc. Sometimes you need to challenge yourself, the way you do business, and you try to find ways and means to improve the way you do business. Sometimes little challenging processes, the way you do business, sometimes introducing techniques in the maintenance. For example, we are working with the GE when monitoring power plants 24 hours, and I'm referring to Jawab, which is we own 30% in it. And by optimizing this, we know exactly when we need to interfere in maintenance, not schedule maintenance. So it is a condition-based. When we need to interrupt the business, we know before things become bigger issues, etc. We can stop operation. We have enough time to work it out. I think that is the beauty of the data you have, and if you structure well and that's why operation excellence is about structuring the way you do business. Once you structure your business, connect it, you know exactly what area you are looking for or monitoring. You have the right KPI or the key objectives, what you need to drive your results, what you are looking for. You will find innovative solutions in a way. And also nowadays, there's a lot of solutions from inspection point of view, working with the GE, introducing some elements to monitoring the performance. Now, because we get inside your control system, you understand now better than the vendors, where's the issues. So you can consult with them and come with the OME and fix the issues, because then you change the way you do your asset management and your performance. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think it's fundamental from what you're saying as well, that as part of becoming a learning organization or a learning sector, having that clean data from whatever way that we can get, whatever source of information we can get, that becomes fundamental. And I think it's a good combination between setting in our behaviours, but also understanding how systems can help us to do that. So we've had a little bit of a focus on the micro side of things, so looking at organisations, looking at technology, just having a look at more to do with a macro type of question. So this would be around call this topic the journey to net zero. So the question is around how could you accelerate the transition to net zero carbon in the power sector while addressing the energy trilemma, which I alluded to at the start. and balancing the need for more reliable, affordable and sustainable electricity. And maybe I'll ask you first on this one, Mr. Turkey. Sorry, caught you by surprise.
So I think if we look at what's happening globally on this net carbon zero transition, I don't know if it's only my mic or...
No, it's up and
Okay. So, sorry. So, today, there's over 120 countries that have a net carbon zero objective. Today, the majority, if not nearly all international investors and developers have a net carbon zero objective. We heard about the markets putting out ESG requirements. This is clearly the global direction, and I think you would be joking yourself if you thought otherwise, right? Trying to find investments in traditional, let's say, oil, gas, even gas, by the way, is even still difficult. Coal is nearly impossible. 4 years ago, this was something that you would never maybe think twice about. There was several investors investing in coal, investing in oil and gas. But today, all these companies that have made that net carbon zero target are having extreme difficulty. I'm talking about NG itself. Are having extreme difficulty trying to sell these coal assets that they have, where 4 years ago they had no problem investing in. Gas, no difference. A few years ago, there was no issue investing in gas. Today, any of these international investments that have a 2045, 2050 target can only invest in gas provided that it's a transitional fuel, meaning 5, 10 years. But 20-year commitments, 15-year commitments, which is the case in this region, is not possible. So I think the net carbon zero or the net carbon zero transition is definitely happening. And I think this is extremely obvious from what we see if we focus on Saudi in specific. Clearly, the announcements of the 2060 net carbon zero objective, Saudi Aramco being the oil and gas company having a 2050 net zero objective, what we heard in a 50% gas, 50% renewable energy mix, this is exactly where everybody's going. And in the beginning, I think it's going to move fairly quick because it makes economic sense. If you look at the region, for decades, we've been relying on traditional fuels. And as such, the solar, the wind, the energy efficiency measures, these are all quick wins, and there's a lot of room for these investments to take place. But then comes when you try to achieve that net carbon zero objective. I think at that moment in time, this is when it starts to become extremely complex. And this is when you start to look at carbon sequestration, which does not make economic sense. This is when you look at green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, which does not make economic sense today. And as such, if all these global nations are moving towards this objective, at some stage, these are the technologies that are going to make that happen. And the question then becomes, who wants to be at the forefront and who wants to be lagging and following suit? And this is why these decisions and these investments need to take place today. And I think it's important to note that this is where both the public and private sector have to play an important role with each other. Yes, the private sector can do pilot programs, invest, but at the end, if it does not make large-scale commercial sense, it's not going to happen. And this is where the competition comes in with different countries as well. So, I can tell you, if you look today at Europe, the 570 billion green stimulus package, 570 billion euros allocated to green projects, that's a lot of money. So the competition is not just between companies, the competition is between countries. Who is going to lead on this forefront of providing the knowledge, the know-how, and the technology? I think, and not to make the story sound too gloomy, I think in Saudi this is the most dynamic market. The opportunities are enormous, and we're seeing this every year. This is probably one of the very few countries that during COVID still had projects ongoing, investments were happening, and this will obviously continue for years to come. The only maybe thing that I would like to highlight is the importance of, okay, now the renewables, energy efficiency, the solar, the wind makes sense, but I think it's important we start to look at the future, the near upcoming future, and how we will be able to take a global leading role on these technologies that will help the various nations and the various countries around the world achieve that net zero carbon objective.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Adele, I'd get your input into this because I think this is
Sure.
a very good topic for you to come in with.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in General Electric, we're investing a lot. I mean, to your point, this is not an easy problem to solve. It's not about sustainability only or having renewables. It's a much bigger problem. Obviously, there's still 1 billion people in the world that don't have even access to power right now. I think a combination of gas and renewables is definitely what's going to happen in the next years and years to go. But even if you have 50% of your grid in renewables, you need to stabilize it. And that's where gas, I think, is very important. Now, in the gas, obviously having efficient gas turbines, we talked about the age and having very efficient gas turbines. But also what we're doing in GE is we're looking at these gas turbines burning clean, fuels. In other words, hydrogen, for example. And our E technology already turbines can burn 100% actually hydrogen, which is zero carbon, right? And for our new technology, you can burn a good percentage, up to 50%, and there is a whole new R&D that's happening to make sure that we can burn in these gas turbines cleaner hydrogen. Obviously, there's also the carbon capture piece where even if you have assets, because don't forget, there's still billions of dollars invested in existing power plants, and they still have a life, 15, 20, 30 years. So how can you at least, if you have a combination of burning hydrogen, reducing your carbon, at the same time capturing that carbon and maybe using it, whether, sequestering it underground or using it, like you were saying, in other processes, it would be also a very good solution. Now, the other long-term probably solution that could, is changing. For example, a H power plant compared to an E power plant for the same type of megawatt. For example, 2,000 megawatt power plants that's operating in an E class. If that changes to an H class, that can save you about 5 million tons of carbon a year. So again, it's an investment and it's in the gas power, but as the technology and the research, improves and we have a much better, more efficient, because it doesn't make sense also to make sure that you are generating hydrogen that is costing you more than, to produce than actually its cost to burn it in a gas turbine. So there is a cost issue that needs to be solved, but I'm sure, human beings are very, very, creative, and we will find a solution. It's just, it would take more time.
Okay. Is it selfish to ask where nuclear fits into this equation?
Obviously, nuclear is a big piece of it. I mean, you talk about wind, solar, and nuclear, and you've seen, you're involved in the UAE, and the millions of tons also of CO2. Imagine that same power plant is a gas or a coal power plant. I mean, it's a huge, huge saving and elimination of carbon. And definitely, we are working in General Electric, actually, in our nuclear department division, on the smaller nuclear.
The SMRs.
Exactly, the SMRs. And that could be also a very good solution where you have, you don't need every time, a 1,200, 1,500 megawatt power plant that's operating on base load. But if you have the smaller ones with a combination between renewables or even gas, you have a very good solution. And we're progressing very well on that realm as well.
Maybe at some time Ireland might have a nuclear power plant. Who knows? Maybe in the future it could be an SMR. And just Brandon, just to bring you into this from your perspective, just to get another perspective, a global perspective on this and your experience, where do you see this going? Us, getting to net zero at a wider level.
Thank you. It's a great question. From my perspective, one of the important things around net zero is that it takes the entire community. It takes government, private sector, And from my work with the Canadian government and in North America, there are a few dimensions, and I'll just give quick one-line summaries of those key elements. So the first is that we need a strong policy, so a strong framework to align all the intentions and goals at all levels of government. The next thing is that we have to know to prepare for major transitions. There will be challenging moments, and so the key thing there that we have to prepare for is that we must make sure that the burden is shared across all communities, all geographic sectors, all demographics, all income levels, all types of workers. If it's disproportionately shared, then it could create a lot of challenge. And then from a private sector approach, of course, we all prioritize risks, but we say there are two kinds of risks. One that are safe bets, and one that are the wild cards. So the safe bets are things where the technology exists. Technology is already working in other countries or other environments. So these are safer, and you want to move forward as fast as possible, fund these as much as possible. But then the wild cards, this is where it's wise to take a portfolio approach. So instead of taking one bet on a wild card, have a few going at the same time, so then you can manage some of the risk and see which solution reaps the most benefit. So this is kind of the large strategy around how to get to net zero within an organization.
Okay, thank you. And the area that I wanted to look at was, how do we know when we've achieved operational excellence? Well, there's an organization called the Institute of Nuclear Power Operations. It's in Atlanta, Georgia, in the US. And when you go into the foyer, there's etched in stone the word excellence, but the last E is unfinished. And it goes along the lines where we attended some workshops yesterday, and there is a mantra where excellence is it's not a destination, it's a journey, and that comes up a lot. But it does ask the question: how do we know when we're there? How do we know when we have achieved operational excellence, or is it just something that we will never achieve? It's a big question. Maybe go back to yourself, Waleed, on this one, just to get your thoughts.
Yeah. Thank you for raising this very, very tricky question.
Sorry.
In my opinion, and also we have the same belief within SEC and National Grid that, as you mentioned earlier, it's a journey. It has no destination at all, because of two or three things: that world are evolving and technology are evolving. Expectation of our customer are also increased and developed according to what's available in the market. So you cannot say at certain time that I already arrived to my destination in the operational excellency. Meanwhile, you can or you need always to benchmark yourself. For example, that how was your cost last year and how much has been improved according to your operational excellency program today. You can measure also your customer satisfaction from last year to this year. And also regarding your process efficiency, that it can be also evaluated, and if there is really a big improvement, that's why, or that means that you are really doing something good in this regard. In a utility like National Grid, having an asset value today more than 170 billion Saudi riyal, and our assets increase day by day because we have a huge project under execution that really imposing a big pressure on us to improve our excellence, our operational excellency program day by day. And also, you can imagine with this huge physical asset how much data you are gaining every day, and how to create value from this data. And I can consider it part of our operational excellency program. So again, just benchmark yourself. This is number one, and we can also benchmark with the other similar utilities, especially in the region itself. And then you can really evaluate and redirect your program accordingly.
Okay. And just on that one, and maybe down to yourself at the end, Mohammed, you mentioned about benchmarking, especially at a regional level. In terms of the importance of national or regional versus international standards, and how we, move forward in the journey of excellence in that way, how important is that, and what steps do we need to take to be able to ensure that we do it?
As mentioned by Saadi, the benchmark is very important in your systems, internally, and how you see your continuous improvement. Also, if you have a structured business, again, as operational excellence, you need to structure it. You have your KPI, you set KPI, how you benchmark yourself in your sectors, either regionally or internationally. Because, for example, Marafiq, we strive to be the best utility in the region. How you measure yourself, and you need to establish the right measures. Also, you go for this competition in the international awards. It's not for sake of award itself, but to prove to yourself, and you are in the best in class when you provide services. Because in utility business, it is a regulated business. Even there's a demand from the regulators, different regulators, certain KPI you need to meet, and you need to show improvement in the way you do business, cut cost, improve efficiency, etc. Benchmark, very important, internally, within your systems, even machine to machines, unit to unit, organization within department to department, or also internationally. And also, as I said, with the regulator, there are certain KPI mandated by regulator because it's well-regulated business utility here and internationally. And also strive the tariff to reduce the tariff and to improve, and seeking participating in these awards. And you need to structure it in your business, by the way. If you are striving in operational excellence, you need to ensure your process is very clear, how you will do benchmark, to whom you benchmark, and should be equal in your business. Also, it's not only in utility, sometimes also because it is an operational excellence, it's the way you structure business. Other type of business, how the profound, you learn from them. And it is a continuous journey, right. And you need to work day and night until you be there.
Okay. We have a hard stop at 12:15. We've got 10 minutes, don't worry. But what I wanted to do was give everyone a little bit of time. We don't seem to have any questions coming in from, I think we've talked about everything. So thank you for that. What I wanted to do was just give enough time for everyone just to get some final thoughts. We've mentioned a few topics today. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to go into anything else that you really wanted to get the audience to understand and feel. So I'll start with yourself.
Thank you. One thing that I thought I would share very briefly is to share an example of how we opened up an energy company in Canada. So we held a pitch competition for $100,000. And for our budgets here, $100,000 is often a rounding error. But for a startup, it's a lot of money. So it was a brand new exercise, and we launched the competition as an energy company who often is not seen as very open to innovation because it is so regulated. We had 50 companies apply. They analyzed the entire supply chain and retranslated their technology to how the energy company could use the technology. We had the CEO, COO, and the VP R&D as the panel, but what they brought were all their middle and senior managers in the room. For one day, out of the 50, we chose 15 companies. They all presented their pitches, customized for the energy company. At the end of the day, they chose the winner, $100,000, but what they got out of it was all their middle and senior managers understood the most leading edge technologies. And those of us on the stage and those of you in this room, maybe you're not thinking about how to improve warehouse logistics management. Maybe you're not thinking of sensor technology inside certain machinery. But these companies presented 15 of them. So at the end of the day, all 15 companies had contracts from the middle managers at the end of the room. They all were educated in the most leading edge technology for the cost of $100,000. So this is one example of how we can empower all levels of our organizations to participate in innovation.
Thank you. Thank you. Very insightful. Adam?
Great example. No, just from an operation excellence, just one last word on the power, I would say, of lean and continuous improvement. I think it's such a powerful concept. I mean, we all know what lean is. It's about killing the waste and all of that. But actually changing a mindset and having our front line, our employees, our team, the technicians that are doing that work, think into that terms is very powerful. I have a small example. We were at the Power Desal here back in, at the end of last year, and we were looking with the customer, actually it's an NG site, and we were looking at how, to improve changing a filter, just the filter membrane. And we looked with the team there on the ground. We said, okay, we have a lean guru from Japan that came, and how can we improve the process? And that process usually takes about 4 weeks to change all of the filters in the whole power plant. And the goal, we said, okay, let's use lean processes here and mindset, and let's put a target to change it in 1 week. And we brought the technician and the guys that have been doing it for years. And they all said, this is crazy. I mean, physically, it's not possible. And little by little, when we started just talking, okay, I mean, is it a tool that you need to change? Is it a process? Is it doing something before another thing? After 4 days, we ended that workout with actually reducing that 28 days of lead time to less than 5 days. And that 5 days, I think, the CEO of the power plant was telling me that actually they're putting a target to improve it to even 3 days, maybe 2 days, even 1 day. So it's a continuous, process, but it's more of a mindset and letting the people in the front line being empowered to change the process and to raise their hands and saying, look, let's do it this way rather than that way. I think that's, to me, operational excellence.
Excellent example. Thank you. Walid?
I would like just to say at the end of this session that, again, operational excellence is a journey. It's a continuous process. I mean, it doesn't stop at a certain limit. Definitely, it has what you call it a substations that you pass through it. And each stop, or each, time you get it to reevaluate your journey, you need to consider seriously your customer and stakeholder expectation, and then you have to manage yourself accordingly. Other point I would like also to share with the audience today that, again, we would like always to avoid saying cutting cost or reducing cost. Rather than we need to always use optimization concept, because it's very easy to cut the cost everywhere, but finally you'll pay the bill maybe double or triple or sometimes more than this one. So you always try to optimize your process, your design, your everything, that the cost and benefits or cost and efficiency need always to create and to maintain such balance. Thank you.
Thank you.
From maybe just two brief items. I think the first one is just to refocus on safety. I really think when it comes to health, safety, and environment, this is key to every organization. God forbid you have one fatality. This will impact your performance, it will impact your bottom line, and more importantly, it will impact your branding, right? Who wants to work for a company where they do not feel safe. I think that this is something that should not be undermined in any way, nor should it ever be used for shortcuts to think that you're performing better on other aspects of excellence. That's one aspect. The second part is, I think, also on innovation, is what made sense yesterday does not necessarily mean it will make sense today. So when it comes to this change, and I'm being a little bit more specific on this net carbon zero objective, you may think that, okay, as a business, I see opportunities coming, they still exist today, but believe me, they will not exist for years to come. Like I said, what made sense yesterday, 4 years ago, investors in coal were plenty. Today, it's very difficult to find somebody. Today, same thing, gas is well known as a transition to the net carbon zero objective, but yet you will still find difficulty finding investors in these areas. So I think, and also just to give you an example, these multinational companies, and I'm referring to ENGIE in specific, when we say net carbon zero, our objective is by 2045 net carbon zero, reduced by 50% by 2030. That's on scope 1, 2, and 3. So it means not just what we're emitting, but scope 3 is which suppliers we are using. Today, we spend in Saudi $100 million every year on local supplies, today. Scope 3 means if those suppliers do not have a net carbon zero objective, we will not be able to use them. And the reason being, it's not because, we're have a nice dream. No, it's because we will be impacted with our investments. When you get loans in the market, they don't just look at your financial statements. They look at your ESG ratings. Are you in line with the change that's happening? So as such, we have to ensure that what we're investing in today is aligned with this. So it does not just impact our investments, it impacts who we operate and work with. And this is not just NG, this is global and everywhere else. So I think making sure that we're aligned with this change is extremely important for the survivability of companies to come.
Thank you.
Just I want to say something about the journey to the net zero. It is an objective now, is a global objective. And that is, if you put it as an objective, you need, as a challenge for utilities, what you will do with your existing facility, how you will handle them, what is your future plan, your visions. And this also will drive the innovations. Now all our R&D will become trying to find a solution, a breakthrough in the storage and how we store energy from renewable, because that's the issue with the renewables. There's no sustainable energy, so you need to store it. So I'm sure in the near future we'll have a breakthrough in the storage. Also, this will drive to find ways and means to have cheap hydrogen in order to use the hydrogen in the way we do business. At the end, the excellence will drive, it is a must, the operation excellence. You need to structure your business because the competitions we are in and the world now we are in utility business, very competitive business, very well regulated. So you need to structure your business in a way to keep, again, your customer happy, your stakeholders and customer happy, your shareholders happy, and also your employees happy. And once you do this, how you balance it, how you structure it, I think that's the focus, how you structure a business. And it is, as a Muslim, it is Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن الله يحب إن عمل أحدكم عملا أن يتقنه. You mean, if you do something, you need to do it perfection, to the perfect. And how you need to do it, how you structure a business, that is, I think, if we do it, each one, take it as individuals or as a leaders, or is the HR is the key. You need to, your HR, they need to be educated on how to structure their business, how we put the right processes, how you measure it. I think it is, if you didn't start yet, the way you look for your business from structure, I think it is offered you task as leaders, and you need to invest in the structure of the business to get the benefit and optimize the cost at the end and improve your efficiency. And thank you for this panel.
Thank you for that. And we've reached the end of our panel discussion, so I wanted to sincerely thank all of the panelists for your contribution. I've learned a lot today. And I also wanted to thank all of the guests for being a part of this and to hear the discussion and to be part of this journey. So thank you very much. Shukran.
خليكم جالسين معنا. مرحبا يا شباب. أدعو الآن سعادة الأستاذ منال الماضي مدير إدارة الشراكات في المؤسسة العامة لتحلية المياه لتكريم السادة المتحدثين في هذه الجلسة. أول المكرمين في هذه المناسبة السيد براندون لي، المسؤول التنفيذي للأعمال والشؤون الدولية والسفير الكندي السابق في وادي السيليكون من كندا. الأستاذ عادل العمراني، الرئيس التنفيذي للخدمات شركة جنرال إلكتريك باور من الشرق الأوسط وشمال أفريقيا. الأستاذ وليد السعدي، نائب الرئيس للهندسة للشركة الوطنية لنقل الكهرباء بالمملكة. الأستاذ تركي الشهري، الرئيس التنفيذي شركة إنجي في المملكة. والأستاذ محمد الزعبي، الرئيس التنفيذي لشركة ترى يحق للضيف ياخذ صورة وصورتين وثلاثة، يعني مستعجلين هم بعضهم. طيب، وأيضا رحبوا معي بالأستاذ محمد الزعبي، الرئيس التنفيذي شركة مرافق بالمملكة. شكرا لكم جميعا. شكرا أستاذة منال، يعطيكم العافية. نسيت صديق المهنة. ننسى. I'm sorry. No, you deserve it better than me. رحبوا معي، وأبغى تحية عشان نعوضه لأن أنا نسيته ومو بعادتي أنسى. رحبوا معي بروري جالجر، مستشار تنفيذي. One more, again. Gallagher, you deserve it. Thank you. شكرا جميعا، يعطيكم العافية. صورة جماعية. يلا منال، ترى ينتظرونك. يلا. صورة جماعية قبل ما أستدعي واحد من الضيوف المهمين. شكرا، يعطيكم العافية. مبسوطين ترى يا منال لأنهم ماخذين الصورة معاك. أقول مبسوطين لأنه الصورة معاك يا منال. يلا، شكرا جميعا. طيب، شخصيتنا الآن هو الرئيس التنفيذي لبرنامج تطوير الصناعات الوطنية والخدمة أو الخدمات اللوجستية. هو مهندس والرئيس التنفيذي لبرنامج تطوير الصناعات الوطنية، ويقوم بقيادة التغيير ويسعى نحو الابتكار. طبعا هذا كله من خلال قيادته للبرنامج في هذه المرحلة المهمة لتحقيق الأهداف الموضوعة لدعم تحقيق أهداف رؤية المملكة 2030. في أحدث أدواره قبل تعيينه كرئيس للبرنامج عمل كمدير تنفيذي في برنامج التحول الوطني، وأدار ملفات الوزارات المتعلقة بالأهداف الاستراتيجية 37 لرؤية المملكة 2030، وعمل أيضا مدير عام في مركز الإنجاز والتدخل السريع، وأدار فريق يضم أكثر من 90 موظف لتحقيق أهداف هذا المركز. رحبوا معي بسعادة المهندس سليمان بن خالد المزروع.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. أصحاب السعادة، الحضور الكريم، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. سعيد جدا بالتواجد هنا معاكم في هذا الحدث المهم. الشكر موصول للمؤسسة العامة لتحلية المياه المالحة على هذه الجهود وهذا الانتقاء لهذا الموضوع المهم. الرياح لا تجري في خدمة من لا وجهة له. الرياح لا تجري في خدمة من لا وجهة له. هذه المقولة تصف التحول الجذري الذي أحدثته رؤية المملكة 2030. فامتلاكنا لرؤية واضحة طموحة هو بلا شك الممكن الحقيقي الذي أتاح لنا الفرص لرفع سقف الطموحات والتغلب على التحديات وصناعة مستقبلنا ومستقبل أبنائنا. أسندت رؤية المملكة 2030 لبرنامج ندلب مهمة واضحة، وهو العمل تكاملياً لجعل المملكة دولة صناعية رائدة ومنصة لوجستية عالمية، وذلك من خلال التكامل بين قطاعات الطاقة والتعدين والصناعة والخدمات اللوجستية، والتركيز على محورين: المحتوى المحلي، القوة الشرائية في المملكة، والثورة الصناعية الرابعة وهي الليب فروغ، طريقة التقدم بشكل أسرع للوصول إلى المستهدفات. هذه الغاية التي رسمت ملامحها الرؤية والتي يعمل على تحقيقها اليوم أكثر من 40 جهة حكومية من خلال ما يقارب 300 مبادرة نوعية، ولا يزال الحمد لله الكثير من البرامج والمبادرات قيد التنفيذ الآن. وأن تكون هذه القطاعات الأربع تحت سقف برنامج واحد هي أيضاً فكرة عبقرية من سمو سيدي ولي العهد الله يحفظه. فالطاقة والتعدين هما شرايين وموارد يحتاجها الاقتصاد لبناء صناعة نوعية، وكذلك القطاع اللوجستي هو العصب اللي يربط هذه الموارد وهذه الصناعة بالأسواق المحلية والعالمية. فوجود هذه الأربع قطاعات داخل برنامج واحد تتكامل لتحقيق هدف واحد هو فكرة عبقرية بلا شك. ولإعطاء بعض الأمثلة عن ما يعنيه رؤية المملكة 2030 لما تذكر مبادرة، ففي العام الماضي أطلق سمو سيدي برنامج صنع في السعودية، وهو برنامج ضخم يدعم الصناعة السعودية. هذا البرنامج هو إحدى مبادرات برنامج ندلب. كذلك في عام 2019 تم إطلاق بنك الاستيراد والتصدير كأكبر داعم للتصدير في المملكة وكتقديم حلول مالية نوعية، هو إحدى مبادرات برنامج ندلب. برنامج خادم الحرمين الشريفين للطاقة المتجددة هو إحدى مبادرات ندلب. برنامج المسح الجيولوجي الأكبر لمعادن الموجودة في المملكة هو إحدى مبادرات ندلب. الحضور الكريم، مهمتنا في ندلب كبقية برامج الرؤية ليس تصميم وتنفيذ المبادرات فقط، بل العمل والتعاون على صناعة التغيير بشكل مستدام، irreversible change. وهذا ما يجعل التميز التشغيلي أساس في مأسسة التحول وتبني الحلول الابتكارية بشكل مستدام. وهذا ما يجعل هذا المؤتمر وعملكم الحالي هو أساس لتحقيق رؤية المملكة 2030. في الماضي كانت كلمة سمارت وفي بدايتها كانت في سرعة ردود الجهاز مع الإنسان، سمارت فون، ثم انتقلت إلى أن يكون سمارت عندما تتكلم الآلة مع الآلة بدون دخول الإنسان، سمارت فاكتوري. لكن الآن وصلت مرحلة السمارت إلى فكرة أشمل. هذه الفكرة في مفهومها الجديد هو القدرة على خلق تواصل متبادل بين قطاعات مختلفة التي كان من المستحيل أن يكون بينها تواصل في الماضي. ولكن كيف يتم تحقيق ذلك؟ هذا التحدي يكمن في تبني وتعزيز تقنيات الأتمتة المتقدمة مثل الروبوت والدرونز، بالإضافة إلى الذكاء الصناعي وعلم البيانات وإنترنت الأشياء، والتقنيات الابتكارية مثل الهايبر لوب وغيرها. فتصورنا بإذن الله مع وجود القطاعات الأربعة أن يكون لدينا منجم ذكي، سمارت ماين، متصل بسمارت فاكتوري، مربوط بمدينة ذكية، سمارت سيتي، يقوم على توليد الطاقة عليه من خلال سمارت جريد أو الطاقة أو شبكات الطاقة الذكية، والتي بإذن الله تتنقل البضاعة والأفراد من خلالها عن طريق لوجستيات ذكية. هذا العمل التكاملي والسمارتنس هو اللي نبحث عنه إن شاء الله في رؤية المملكة 2030، واللي إن شاء الله قادرين على تحقيقه. وبحمد الله قطعنا شوطاً كبيراً، ليس فقط في التخطيط بل في تنفيذ المشاريع في رؤيتنا المباركة. ففي قطاع الطاقة تم تنفيذ مشاريع الطاقة المتجددة في سكاكا ودومة الجندل لتسجيل أقل تكلفة عالمياً لواط ساعة، ورفع الطاقة الاستيعابية الغاز 20% كرقم استثنائي منذ بداية العمل في قطاع الغاز. كذلك خلال 40 سنة الماضية في مجال الصناعة كونا 7000 مصنع. خلال ال5 سنين الماضية قفزنا 50% بعدد المصانع، وصلنا إلى 10,200 مصنع. هذه القفزة تعادل تقريباً 20 سنة قبل الرؤية. وفي الخدمات اللوجستية والحمد لله 3 موانئ وصلت إلى أفضل 100 ميناء في العالم، الأول عربياً وال20 عالمياً في النقل البحري، وغيرها من الإنجازات اللي أعتقد أن أغلبكم رآها على أرض الواقع. أخيراً، نؤمن في ندلب بأن المملكة ستقود التغيير التي سيتجاوز حدودها الإقليمية بإذن الله، وما تم تحقيقه حتى الآن ما هو إلا دليل على أننا نسير في الاتجاه الصحيح بحمد الله وبفضل رؤيتنا المباركة. ولا يوجد أي عذر أو تبرير للتراخي. كيف يمكن ذلك ونحن نملك ولله الحمد كافة مقادير الوصفة الصحيحة للنجاح، وعلى رأسها رؤية طموحة وتوجه واضح ودعم لا محدود من قبل قيادة الحزم والعزم من مولاي خادم الحرمين الشريفين وسمو سيدي ولي العهد حفظه الله، التي تؤمن بإمكانات شبابها ومقدرات وطنها. شكرا لكم.
الآن نستغل هالمناسبة بوجود الأستاذة منال الماضي مدير إدارة الشراكات في المؤسسة العامة لتحلية المياه لتكريم سعادة المهندس سليمان بن خالد المزروع الرئيس التنفيذي لبرنامج تطوير الصناعة الوطنية والخدمات اللوجستية. ليش مستعجلين اللي يصورون ليه؟ خذ راحتك أستاذ سليمان، يبغون ياخذون لقطة لقطتين ثلاثة. شكرا منال، شكرا أستاذ سليمان، شكرا لكم أنتم جميعا. طبعا بيكون في استراحة بسيطة وبعدها يستأنف أعمال هذا المؤتمر. شكرا لكم.